Well, he has been part of the sports industry for decades and has met many great athletes along the way.
Well, he just released a memoir called Touching Greatness that details all of the unbelievable sports memories he has made over the years. And joining us now is my buddy Ted Sobel, a network studio host and reporter for Sports USA NFL and NHL radio broadcasts. He also spent 23 years at storied KFWB radio and over 3 decades at KNX radio.
Ted, you have been a busy man.
Yes, I have, and thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to see you guys. And Glenn, nice to see you moved up the ladder and now you're in news. That's so impressive.
Well, I've known Ted a long time, and Ted's like one of those guys that, like, you go to a press box, Ted's there, no matter what sport. Dodger Stadium, the Coliseum, Staples Center, you'll see Ted. All right, before we get into your book, let's just talk a little sports. Some stuff that's happened recently. 2 blockbuster trades on the same day made by the Dodgers and the Lakers. That was quite a day, to say the least. What do you think of these trades?
Well, it was a lot of interesting stuff because of the fact that they took all of these players from the Washington, D.C. area. And that was something I was on a Washington radio show the other day. They said, "What are you doing to us?" Look, Russell Westbrook, he's a great individual player. He has never won anything in his career. He had an opportunity to do so early on at Oklahoma City, and they weren't able to get it done. At this stage, it's going to be really interesting because the Lakers are very, very old. We were joking at the Dodgers game last night that the Lakers actually unloaded a player who was 28 because he was much too young. So it's starting to look like a YMCA roster, and I don't know if that's going to work for the postseason, but it's going to be a lot of fun to watch, at least during the regular season.
Well, Ted, let's talk about your new book, Touching Greatness. Did you enjoy writing it?
Oh, absolutely, except for it took me a little longer than I'd hoped. About 3 years. What I actually expected to do was just to write enough for one book, and I ended up writing over 1,200 pages. So it turned into, this is going to be volume 1, and then we'll deal with the future later. Hopefully this will do well enough, and Coach's Choice, my publisher, will be able to get out a couple of more volumes. But it all started because of former NFL referee Jim Tunney, who was my principal at Fairfax High School 100 years ago, and Jim's still around. He's in his early 90s now, and he opened the door to get this thing published by the same company that published some of his books.
Yeah, well, there's some great stories about your childhood. Your father used to run the Friars Club, so it's a lot more than just sports. But what are some of your favorite highlights covering sports icons like Kobe Bryant, who's on the cover with you, and Tiger Woods?
Well, as far as Kobe's concerned, it's still very difficult to even talk about him right now. The fact that when he started out his career, he was just a great potential teen. He was 17 years old. I was there the first day that Jerry West introduced him to the Lakers, and you may have been there as well, Glenn. I don't recall, but one of the things about Kobe was the way he evolved as a person. We know some of his issues that he went through after they won the titles with Shaquille O'Neal. But what I do is I chronicle my times in the locker room with Kobe during that Shaq-Kobe era when it didn't look good for the last couple of seasons, that there was so much chaos going on. And I basically talk about how it's similar to if you went to a relative's house, they invited you over for dinner, and there were a bunch of people there. You didn't want to be at the table, but you were there every single night. It was sort of like that being in the locker room for Kobe and Shaq in the last couple of years of their era. But, boy, we really missed out on the adult Kobe Bryant because he could have done some amazing things with society.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. Well, switching from basketball to hockey, you apparently have a business card story with Wayne Gretzky in the Kings locker room.
Yes, well, what happened was that I had taken a picture sort of by accident. I was the last guy in the locker room when Wayne broke Gordie Howe's all-time goal-scoring record at 802. The Kings photographer took a picture and said, "Here, this is for you." When I was the last one in the room, Wayne says, "Hey, why don't we take a picture? You're the only one left." That's not what we do, as Glenn knows, in locker rooms. We don't take pictures. But if Wayne Gretzky says it's okay, I guess we did it. He then, the following season, then asked me to come into the room between periods of a game. And he ended up, "What are we going to do with this picture for your business card?" And he wrote my choice is Ted Sobel, Wayne Gretzky, and I sent them out to get hockey jobs after that. And you know what? If you got Wayne Gretzky on your business card in the hockey world, you're doing pretty good.
Oh, you're doing really well. All right, let's talk about some contemporaries. In this town, there's some great sports broadcasters. You've met them all. Chick Hearn, Vin Scully, Bob Miller. What were those encounters like for you? They were always positive for me, I can tell you that.
Well, growing up here, Glenn, I was basically raised with Vin Scully in my ear because I heard him ever since I was about 7 years old. And Vinny has been a mentor in some ways, but more just somebody who you feel so comfortable listening to. And then, of course, Chick Hearn was the guy that he did mentor me. He would call me into his office, show me how he did charts on his basketball broadcast when I was doing college basketball at the time. And Chick was amazing. And Bob Miller actually opened the door to my first real good hockey play-by-play job at his old place at Wisconsin, University of Wisconsin, where Bob is the Vin Scully of Madison, Wisconsin. And they hired me, I think, as much as they liked my tape, they loved the idea that Bob Miller recommended me. So that was really special as well. We were so lucky to grow up in L.A. with the icons of all time here.
Oh, they were, you know, there's no comparison in any other city in America when it comes to sports and sports broadcasting. Ted Sobel, best of luck with the book. Again, it's called Touching Greatness, and apparently this is volume 1. There is more to come. I'll see you in the press box.
And it's absolutely. Thank you, Glenn and Lou. Appreciate it. And it is available on Amazon for those who don't have to search too far.
All right,
Okay.
Ted, thank you so much. We appreciate it. All right, Casey.